Alright, welcome back to another JMP video. I'm the host JonNario, and today this is going to be a live commentary, rambling video, no script, whatever you might call it. Another talk video, just me showcasing something, and that is going to be max movement speed. The last video that I showcased was 135 base movement speed, which was nowhere near maximum. Well, it was kinda close to maximum. Now I got the last movement speed node, which is going to be 143 max movement speed. That is the actual maximum that you can achieve base movement speed on the knight, and pretty much the majority of the character, including like stuff like Shadowhunter and such. Like the only character that can achieve higher than 143 base movement speed is like Bard, Neon Ninja, Boomerang and Pirate Captain, and Lunar Lancer, if I recall correctly. And I don't know if Solarian can reach higher movement speed. I don't think he can. But most of the characters can just reach maximum 143. Knight is going to be one of them. And yeah, considering that this is really high by default, to put it into a perspective, the maximum before the patch on the Lunar Lancer was 128, and then maximum on the Knight was 112 movement speed. Now I am achieving 143. This is 31 higher movement speed than what it used to be before, which is just essentially just running around with free fire this all the time. It is really good. That is a huge increase, considering that the maximum, of course, with stuff like the Bard subclass, which is a percentage movement buff, is going to grant a little bit more movement speed, and you can actually just see that the movement speed on the Bard, no, well, not the Bard, on the Knight, can reach as high as 322 movement speed. That is a lot, by the way. 322 movement speed, which is super easy to achieve, by the way. That is not something that is really difficult. 322 movement speed is really easily plausible, and you can just achieve that really quickly. You might just see that a couple of times in this video alone. You are going to just get that all very consistently on this character, and that's just mainly because of how the character playstyle really is. Like I mentioned, I wanted to do a little bit of a video on the Knight, talking about all of my, what do I do personally to maintain all of the movement speed buff and all of that, which I'll do that in later. But right now, I'm just going to be giving some of the little brief things that, that is with the Knight, that you can just achieve high movement speed and why is it so consistent. But of course, first, before actually doing that, all of the nodes, you are going to see it right there. You need a total of 18 celestial spheres in order to achieve max movement speed. Put a little bit of a disclaimer. I'm not going to sit here and just say that this is how you yourself should be using your celestial sphere or anything. I'm just using it this way because I don't need the damage, I don't need light, and I don't need magic find. I essentially don't need any of the other stats particularly. I'm doing pretty well in terms of that, and at the end of the day, more movement speed doesn't hurt. And considering that for the most part, what I do is dungeon grinding, XP farm, and do dungeons all the time, this is going to benefit me a whole lot because I don't need the extra damage, I don't need the extra light, I'm already killing pretty fast. And not to mention, like, I don't need magic find because I already have max magic find without the celestial spheres. Combine that with the fact that, more movement speed is always really good. I'm using a character that is not the fastest character out there. It's above average in terms of speed, but considering that all of this is just going to put this character into a league on its own. If you are comparing this to any other character without any of the starter, it's really good. 322 max movement speed that is very easily achievable is extremely good, considering that the maximum movement speed on previously on the Knight without the starter was 285. 285 movement speed was the previous maximum. Right now it's 322. That is incredibly good because achieving 300 movement speed was very difficult on a lot of characters without the need of, obviously, of course, using the star shot, and heck, even not using the Bard subclass. If I do a little bit of a quick calculation, let me just do that real quick. So I will be doing like, right now I have the monitor, like you're seeing the footage, but I have like the calculator right there. I am going to be checking out what it was the max movement speed on the Shadowhunter without the Bard subclass, which is what a lot of people used to use or still use to this day, which was 112 base movement speed. That was the maximum, plus 100, which was, it is going to be the ally buff, Pirates, Trailblazing, and what is the other thing? Vampire and Vanquisher. Those are going to be plus 100, which is going to be 212 movement speed, and then multiply that by 1.4, which is the movement speed buff that you do get with the dodge. And the maximum movement speed without the Bard subclass on the Shadowhunter is 296, not even 300. 290, you can achieve that without the need of using Trailblazing Emblem. That is how big this is. You're essentially, with max movement speed Knight, you're essentially running the same speed as a maxed out movement speed Shadowhunter that is not using the Star Shard, plus with the insane kill power that this character has, which you are already seeing all of that. That is how good this is. It is unbelievably powerful. Like I just mentioned, the Shadowhunter in my eyes is still the best class in the game, especially for dungeon grinding. This character is achieving that same movement speed as the Shadowhunter, while having better kill time in my eyes. And that is just crazy. After just using it for a little bit, I just noticed how snappy the characters feel. The character just feels super snappy with all of this. Like you're feeling like you're always moving ridiculously quickly, and not to mention like your kill time is just really quickly. All you need to do is like mostly just one Spirit Squire into 1 to 2 basic attack, and you're pretty much good to go and essentially killing everything. And not only that, like maintaining the movement speed buff is really easily, because like I just mentioned, the Knight is one of the best momentum building characters in the game. I mentioned this so many times in multiple videos. You can essentially just maintain all of the movement speed buff just by killing an enemy with one Spirit Squire. You can just use Trailblazing Martial Spirit Squire and just essentially kill one random enemy, and there is a pretty high possibility that you can get all of the movement speed buff active at the same time, rushing and getting to max movement speed instantaneously. Going from 143 to 322 in just killing one enemy is really good, considering that you can easily maintain that, because the Spirit Squire doesn't lower your movement speed. It has pretty good range and it does really high damage, so you can kill enemies quite consistently really quickly. You can do that without losing any movement speed buff, and if you do that, there's a high possibility for you to one-shot a regular enemy, which will allow you to just move around like this. The character on its own doesn't require any other stats as well, because the basic attack is still the third potential fastest basic attack in the game. Right now with the Star Shard, it is easily achievable to get max attack speed, so you can attack 6 attacks per second, doing 4.55. The character doesn't need energy regeneration because the Spirit Squire only costs 25 energy. Due to all of it, like, there is going to be a new node that gives you the lifesteal, which is extremely overpowered. It is ridiculously broken. I will do a separate video about it, but that on its own is really broken, and that is just essentially going to cover your survivability, which wasn't a problem in the first place because you already had stun, you already had Iron Will, and not to mention, obviously, if you're using max movement speed, then you have Vampiric Vanquisher. Now that you essentially just have every single thing just available out there, you can easily just tell why the character, in my eyes, was right now it is easily top 5 and arguably top 3 in terms of dungeon grinding. I would probably just say like stuff like Candy Barbarian Spin to Win still has higher potential, Lunar Lancer Need for Speed still has higher potential. I do feel the Knight is better than Bard, even Bard having 40% movement speed in Shadowhunter. I do feel is still better than the Knight because 40% movement speed is super easy to maintain. And not to mention like Dino Tamer, I do feel the Knight is better than Dino Tamer right now, because you can easily achieve the same movement speed while using Martial Emblem all the time and just killing enemies really quickly. And not to mention like the movement speed is equally to that of Dino Tamer with Arcane Emblem, but is slightly higher. Most of the other characters are just slower than this character, or if they are faster, for example like the case of the Boomeranger, they are not as consistent as the Knight. And is super wild because one of the things that I just keep mentioning is that the only weakness that this character has, the Knight has, is movement speed. It doesn't have any movement speed buff. You had the worst dodge in the game, and now combine all of that with the fact that the character has overcharge, which is pretty good movement speed buff. It's not the highest in terms of movement speed, with plus 25 base, but it is no cooldown. You activate it super easily. It lasts for 5 seconds, and you're essentially, it's easily maintainable. It's like Trailblazing Emblem. You can easily maintain that all the time. Now with that, now the character is above average, and now you're using the Star Shard. The character is now achieving higher movement speed of over 300 movement speed, easily achievable and with incredibly good kill time. I'm just going to say this every single time. Movement speed, just achieving the highest potential movement speed, is not indicative of the character being the best in terms of dungeon grinding. It's a good indication that tells you that the character is going to be among the better ones, but it doesn't tell you it is anything like the best character in dungeon grinding. That's why I don't have the Ice Age really high up there, even though the Ice Age can achieve really high movement speed. That's why I don't have the Lunar Lancer as the best dungeon grinding character in the game, even though it has the strongest movement speed buff in the game. Not only keeping that movement speed buff, having that movement speed buff is important, keeping and using that movement speed buff is also very important. Not to mention that it is also very important to know how to control your character, because if you're running really fast that you cannot control it, what's the point in moving really fast? It's the same thing like when I argued before with Neon Ninja, with people using the Neon Ninja early on. The Neon Ninja moved really quickly, but if you didn't have the stat, you didn't kill fast. So what's the point in moving fast if you're not going to kill fast? So the point of speed farming dungeons is knowing how to get from point A to point B really quickly without barely any interruptions. And once you do get into point B and you get into the next dungeon, defeat the dungeon as fast as possible with really good consistent tools, and then just move from that dungeon really quickly. Because if it takes you, like, sometimes it will take you a little bit just to kill a dungeon. Like, for example, if you're using the Lunar Lancer and you miss your Lunar Infused Grapple, or you do the Lunar Leap and you get stuck in a block, like, because Lunar Leap obviously makes you jump, and you do the Lunar Infused Grapple and you, let's just say you bug out and you hit a wall, you're essentially on the mercy of a 15-second cooldown. Which during that time, then you are going to be running really slowly, which is extremely inconsistent. Not to mention, like, characters, for example, if you don't have 100% critical hit on characters like the Neon Ninja, sometimes it will be just a little bit of a pain, like, especially if you're running 95%, because on Trove, for some reason, sometimes 95% feels like 50%. Obviously, of course, like, characters like that one is going to be a bit of a problem. Dino Tamer is another perfect example. If you're not hitting the enemies directly, you're not getting full damage benefits from your basic attack, because you had to hit the enemy directly with the direct impact on the basic attack. If you're hitting with AoE, you're not killing fast. You know, obviously some of the other characters have a little bit more inconsistent, but in the case of the Knight, it's just basic attack. If anything, any single enemy is just going to be right next to you, you're going to be hitting really high damage, and if you get hit, you're going to do even higher damage. So it's going to be either fast or faster type in terms of time to kill. And if you're just seeing enemies, and if you throw down a spear square, everything that is just going to be in front of you is just going to die one shot, because your damage is really that high. Essentially, probably one of the main reasons I like this character a whole lot. Or run around really quickly and just kill enemies and just get to the next dungeon without barely any pause is always a constant movement. So being able to kill dungeons really quickly, having high movement speed buff, and not to mention having consistency in those movement speed buff is all indicative of a good dungeon grinding character. That's why, like, Spin to Win Candy Barbarian, I have it like so high up there on the list, because the movement speed buff is super consistent. But not only that, it's also very high, and it is going to be used on an ability that you're using constantly. On the Shadowhunter, I have it so high out there as still my best dungeon grinding character, because everything is consistent with the basic attack. You just shoot an enemy with the basic and it's going to die. Movement speed buff is super easy with just using a dodge that you should be using all the time, and because it already gives you that forward boost in terms of momentum. Yeah, I have both of those characters higher than something like Lunar Lancer, because Lunar Lancer has inconsistency with Need for Speed, and without Need for Speed, the character is nowhere near better than any of those characters that I just mentioned throughout this video. That's essentially what is going to be most of the things that I just wanted to talk about. I just went a little bit of a ramble or rant. Well, not rant, but just rambling and talking about like, why is it like so insane, like this movement speed is so insane. But yeah, that's essentially going to be it. Some of the things that I wanted to just mention before I actually go. The Trove Hidden Effect series, of course, it is still going to be uploaded all the way until the final episode on Monday on the 23rd. It's going to be uploaded every 2 days, which started on Tuesday, then Thursday, Saturday, and then Monday, the 23rd. that's going to be all of the hidden effects. The other thing that I will want to do is going to be the Starshare lifesteal node and how broken it is. And that's going to be a separate video. Again, I'm going to do a video on the night. Once again, yes, you know, I mean, you subscribe to the channel. You expected me to not talk about this character. And it's my favorite character in the game, so might as well just go for it. But yeah, I just wanted to do a video on the night and just essentially just talking about how I personally like to use the character, because some people have been, you know, asking me some little tips here and there how to use the night properly, or just giving my 2 cents on why do I think the character is much better than people give it credit for. The other thing that I just want to go for is the 40k PR series. Of course, I wanted to go for that one and just continue with the series. Oh yeah, I also wanted to do a Shadowhunter video because like I mentioned in my previous video with the announcement, I've seen a lot of Shadowhunter when I was sick. I've been seeing a lot of streaming and a lot of people, you know, I might give some tips here and there on how good the Shadowhunter can be, or just giving some of my tips and tricks that I normally do, so see if some people can actually just take some tips that I normally are going to give out and just see if it works for them or something like that. But that's essentially going to be everything for me. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for subscribing as always. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this. Road to 4.4k. And yeah, I hope to see you guys next time. Take care and keep on hunting. See ya.